We're going to try to go to the beach today. I say try because the plumber's coming here at 3:30, so we have to make a mad dash for the beach, I guess. Good afternoon, my wonderful fellow YouTube followers. Oh, it's blocked off. So I'm telling you, that's what I've been talking about. Coves, the coves. The coves, the coves. Pretty bushes. HM family life, Frank and Angie. In Ecuador for 5 years, living on $1,000 a month. With the family, I might add. 5 adults. We had to move to Salinas after 5 years in Cuenca and up our expenses to $1,200 a month. But we're still renting at $300. Hey, that brings me to that article we wrote just a short time we came here to Ecuador, rather. That said, Ecuador taxi driver says, that's the title of it. You can go to the Discover Cuenca Ecuador blog and do a search for it. Taxi driver says don't pay more than $300 for rent. That was during the time, the initial stages, where the bloggers at that time were saying things like, yeah, when you come down here they'll ask you how much you pay for rent, and that's all they would say about it. And we had to add to that our experience, which is the reason why they ask you that. As I say, you know, once the locals find out how much foreigners pay for rent, that's it. It's over. Actually, it's not funny. In the long term, it leads to serious, serious consequences. So it's Tuesday, and the plumber was supposed to come last Thursday. And I got a call last night saying that the plumber was going to be here today, Tuesday, at 3 o'clock. It's 3:50 and he's not here. So why even put that in a video? Well, because I have to turn other engagements down because I'm tied up having to wait on the plumber, and when they don't show up, it, you know, okay, that's why. Is he going to show up at all? I don't know. I don't know if he's going to show up. But hey, I'm doing something out of character today. I'm going to the beach. I call this the cancer hour, between 11:30 to 3. I call it the cancer hour. Huge lobster, huge lobster. You know, the high noon hour. I usually stay in the shade. But today we've got the plumber coming. He came yesterday and he's coming back today. So you think we can cut over here, hon? Let's look. There's only so much traffic I can listen to. So I'm going to do it this way. I've got my safari hat on. Angela calls it my adventure hat, and long sleeves. Here we go. We just went right around that rocky hump. All right. We've got a couple of questions today from eager beaver followers. Hey, this is from Glenn from Canada. Hey, Frank and Angie, I've been traveling for 20 years, but not in Ecuador. He spends 4 to 6 months out of the year in Cuba every year. That's apparently how he travels. Searching for a place to live maybe 6 months out of the year. Well, that makes me wonder what's changed in Cuba. What's wrong with Cuba, Glenn?
Getting tired of it.
Getting bored, yeah, that's a human condition, boredom. Alright, so he's looking for a place to go, and he's wondering if Ecuador is it. Specifically, trying to read this in the wind, 6 months, part-time job. Oh, can I get a part-time job there? Well, Glenn, are you getting a part-time job in Cuba? You didn't say. If so, perhaps you could do the same thing in Ecuador. I mean, if you can get a part-time job in one country, a lot of times it's possible to do the same thing in another country. It's just that it may not pay the same. It may pay higher, may pay lower. But generally speaking, developing country is not the place to go looking for a job. I'm not saying there aren't any, but remember, there's a couple of things working against you. One of them is every other gringo's doing the same thing, and the other thing is the locals don't really care for foreigners coming in and taking jobs from them. So you have to do something the locals can't do, like, you know, teach English or something, or something else that requires expertise. The other part of the question is, would I be able to be a citizen of Ecuador while living there for 6 months out of the year? The question's not clear, Glenn. If you're asking, can I live there 6 months and get or qualify for citizenship, the answer is no. You can't. A lot of these countries that are promoted on the internet circuit from the Retire Abroad magazines that start getting all this traffic, they start putting up, some of them put up barriers, especially the small ones. After it's too many gringos come here and do this kind of thing, they start putting up barriers. I don't know why, they just do. We could speculate or have a long conversation about why. It's just what they do. Well, Panama did it. Initially Panama, Costa Rica too. All you had to do was show $600 a month. All of a sudden, after all these wealthy gringos showed up, they raised barriers astronomically. Of course, that just killed off their immigration, so they had to backpedal on it and change it. You know, you either want people to come or you don't. So if you raise barriers too much, you're going to block out a bunch of people. I tell you what happens is that there's a huge slant in perception. Imagine being a bank officer in an Ecuadorian bank or a Panamanian bank, and all of a sudden you've got a stack that big of account applications from people that don't really qualify for immigration any other way, so you're going to deposit $25,000 in the bank. What's your impression of gringos now? Well, they're all rich. You know, bank salaries probably what? Probably less than $12,000 a year. GDP per capita, guys, GDP per capita for Ecuador is $11,000 per year. That's household income, folks. So you're depositing more than 2 years worth of income. And when, like I say, that's not in and of itself very revealing. It's just that when gringo after gringo after gringo shows up and they got a stack of applications that big or bigger, and they all want to deposit $25,000, it's like, well, wait a second. Maybe we're not charging enough. They don't understand there's oodles of gringos way behind them, or right behind them, that aren't going to deposit $25,000. They have funds that come in, whether it be retirement check or what have you, private funds, what have you, that come in every month. That's what happened in Panama and Costa Rica. They raised the barriers to, all of a sudden they wanted, well, you have to spend $200,000, $300,000, because that's what a lot of the rich ones do, of the gringos. Now, I understand that there's a lot of upper middle class people that have the means to move. I would imagine that the very large attrition ratio that you see in these countries, of a revolving door of gringos that come and go, the ones that leave are probably the ones that, more than likely, the ones with more money. Well, clearly, I mean, they have more money, so they can leave. They either go somewhere else or go back home if they have negative experience. Okay, so can I get my citizenship, or can I be a citizen? Well, once you are a citizen, you can do whatever you want. So that's a moot point. How much would I have to pay for full medical in Ecuador? Thanks for all your past information. Well, we get this question from time to time about medical. Guys, okay, get to know your vloggers better. We are naturalists. I am friends with naturopaths, homeopaths, naturalists, alternative doctors, okay, evangelists, ministers, pastors. That's the kind of people I'm friends with. I'm just saying, I don't use the system. I don't use the medical system. I'm not saying I won't. I'm not saying, oh, no, I won't touch it. I didn't say that. If I have an emergency, I might use it. But what's classified as an emergency from one person to the next person, now a guy gets
food poisoning.
He gets food poisoning and he feels like he's dying, so he runs to the emergency room and pays $1,000 for everything. In Ecuador, the rule of 3 and 4 says, you know, if you haven't read that, go to the blog, rule of 3 and 4. So the bottom line is I can't answer your question. I'm not the one that's qualified to answer your question, but I tell you what I will tell you. We've passed gallstones without doctors. We have cleansed our liver without doctors. You need to go to our website.
We have cleansed our colon without doctors.
We cleanse our colon on a regular basis.
Cleansing our colon.
These questions, they cause me to go off on the same subject, but expand. And then last but not least, this question's from Mark. I'm trying to wind down my